Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Doug with News and Views by Doug. So, I say this all the time. If you're new to the channel, this is a channel where it's my observations and opinions about world events, politics, and anything else I pretty much feel like talking about. So, welcome to the channel if you're new. If you're returning, thank you. I ask you that you subscribe and hit like, hit dislike if you don't agree with what I have to say. Leave a comment. Probably one of the most important things. Let's engage. So today's topic is, of course, Iran and fake news. And then we'll be talking about Graham Platner, the Nazi from Maine who's running for Senate. And apparently a lot of the people in Maine are backing this clown. So let's start off with in Iran, there's been reports, a lot of reports coming out from people who can still reach the Starlink. And they're reporting that there's been clashes between the IRGC, which is the Iranian Republic Guard. And these are the hardcore guys back in the regime. And then the Iranian army, which is the army of the common man, whose job is to defend Iran. And apparently they're beginning to battle it out in several regions, including Tehran. And then we're also getting reports of the rebels, civilians who have taken up arms, and they're killing the IRGC members that they can find, doing drive-bys and bombings, things like that. So, I've been saying it for weeks that the Iranian people need to rise up and take back their country and take out the IRGC and the imams that are running the country. So it's a good sign. The U.S. has been upping their attacks. President Trump issued his final truce agreement, and Iran has to give up their uranium and basically surrender. And what's funny about Iran is they're going to sit there and claim that they beat the U.S. no matter what, even though their Navy's been destroyed, their Air Force has pretty much been destroyed. They're going to claim victory no matter what. That's just who they are. So one of the things that the fake news, the mainstream media, they haven't been reporting on these battles between the Iranian army and the IRGC. And yet they put out information that just is wrong. It's false. So the New York Times is one of them. It was reported about 2 weeks ago that when the war started on day one, when we took out the Ayatollah, there was a claim that Israel had made a deal with the former president of Iran, and I can't say his name, so I'm not going to try. But basically, they made a deal. He was supposed to be under house arrest, and they basically hit a part of his house in the pretense of having him escape, and then they would try to prop him up and have him take over the country as the former president. And that when they hit the house, he got wounded, he changed his mind, and that whole story apparently wasn't true. There's people reporting from the Iranian government, they're giving up information saying that never happened. But yet the New York Times pushed that narrative, and it came from one of the reporters who works at the United Nations, who is pro-regime. She's Iranian, and her information just can't be trusted. So there's that. Now, let's look at this election in Maine. There's a guy running for U.S. Senator. His name is Graham Platner. He's a former Marine. Once a Marine, always a Marine. But this guy's a clown. He's also a Nazi. Now, when people call Republicans Nazis and fascists, there's no basis behind it. But this guy actually had an SS type of tattoo on his chest. And once it was pointed out that he's running around with these Nazi symbols on his body, he had it covered up. Now, he made a public comment about an Army soldier who almost died in combat. And I'm going to read it to you. So let me get that. I'm reading it from the internet. Graham Platner, a Democrat candidate for the U.S. Senate in Maine and a Marine Corps veteran, faced severe backlash for resurfaced Reddit comments he made in 2019. In the post, he mocked a wounded American soldier who was shot 4 times. Not once, but 4. 4 times by the Taliban, and Platner called this American soldier fat, lazy trash, and that he didn't deserve to live, and called him a mouth breather. The incident is he reacted to a combat video. Platner criticized the soldier's tactics and wrote that the poor marksmanship by the Taliban was the only reason why this mouth breather made it home. And that's a quote. He also talked shit about one of our greatest SEAL snipers, Chris Kyle. He claimed that Kyle was shooting civilians unarmed just to pad his numbers. Yeah. He's made a lot of controversial remarks about police officers, about rural white people, and very apathetic towards sexual assault victims. And again, this is all coming from the internet. When he was asked by a reporter if he would apologize to that soldier, he didn't apologize. He basically said, yeah, it was his post, but he was suffering from his own PTSD from combat tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. Okay, so let me ask you this, people of Maine. You're voting for a guy who claims he suffers from PTSD. Why the fuck would you put him in the Senate? Why would you elect this Nazi and put him in the Senate to make decisions for the country? I don't know who's more sick, Platner or his supporters. Come on, Maine, you're better than this. You're the original Yankees. Anyways, I'm always trying to tell you people, be safe, keep an eye out. If you see something, say something. And I hope you leave a comment. I hope you'll subscribe to this channel. Hit the like button, leave a comment. I'd like to know what your opinion is. Folks, you have a great day. Take care.